All right, everybody, part 3. We're back again. We apologize for something's going on with the Wi-Fi. I mean, I'm backed up with a couple ways of getting the broadcast to you with good bandwidth, but for some reason it wasn't getting through. But we're getting hooked up again. It looks like we're good to go. I'm with Ramiz, Saad, and him and I have worked together on numerous projects, including my book, Chaga, King of the Medicinal Mushrooms, which wandered around it's over here. I'll show you in a second. An incredible scientist. This is the book that we worked on together, and now 7 or 8 years old this September, and we seem to have these synchronicities all occurring in September. Phenomenal research this man's been doing in his lab right here in Toronto. So we're at Pharmacia Juice Bar right here. There's Pharmacia, spelt like a farm, F-A-R-M, in the beaches in Toronto. If you're ever in this part of the world, come on down to this side, or if you're on the other side of town, we were at Thrive Organic Restaurant last night. And Ramiz, jump in here. You've probably seen some of our videos we've been putting out already. Sure. Now we're at part 3. We've got an amazing discovery to go over here with you, and then we'll cut the broadcast because we've got some other filming to do. So hopefully we can get this out while we've got a good reception. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Okay, what we want to say now is about the chaga. Chaga is a fungus.
Yeah. And I'll show you guys. Yeah, chaga is a fungus that grows on birch trees primarily. That's a chaga mushroom right there. Give you guys an idea and a feel for what that's like. Okay, keep going.
And there is a fungus too. Good fungus in our body.
Yep.
And there is bad fungus.
So good fungus and bad fungus. This is the king. So this is the good one. This is the best one ever, actually. Oh God, we got people coming in from all over the world. I saw Beverly Hills. Thanks for joining us. Rockaway Beach, New York. Awesome. And Hollywood, Minnesota. Phenomenal. It's just so great to have all these people coming in together. That is my favorite thing I think about social media, Ramiz.
Correct.
Is this just the incredible ability from Idaho. You've got people watching from the Middle East. Ramiz is Egyptian, so he's got friends all through the Middle East. And we apologize. He's not speaking Arabic on this broadcast to everyone in the Middle East, but he will translate. He mentioned he's going to translate into Arabic for you guys.
Correct.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, we want to say, we know that chaga is a yeast, fungus is a yeast, and there is what happened is when the yeast meet together, what's really happening?
So when the high one, the king, meets the the lower one,
correct?
Right? The yeast.
That's right. And we know that here there is a beta glucan, okay, which in a cell membrane, okay. Then when they attach together, there is a good fungus and there is a bad fungus. How do they meet for the first time?
I bet you there's going to be a clash when they meet for the first time.
The love story.
Is it? What happens?
Love story. What happened? I took this under the microscope.
Okay.
And I'm releasing this to you.
This is amazing. First time. This has never been published in any journal or anything.
No.
This is just strictly Ramiz's own research in his lab, which he's been working in labs in this area for 43 years. So he's a big time scientist. Let's see what we got. Well, this is interesting. I'll show you guys the best we can.
Good. When man meet a woman, we are a species. Okay? We love each other. There is a chemistry between us.
Yeah.
Fungus has a chemistry. Yeast has a chemistry with each other. And that was my thinking. Species, when they meet for the first time, what do they say to each other?
It's usually friendly, actually, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we always get the survival of the fittest stuff, and we're like, it's just so programmed.
Correct.
And terrible. But almost always, it's a friendly interaction.
Correct. Me and you, we can get along because we are in the same vibration. Okay, and the same, when man meet a woman, they are in the same vibration, they fall in love. And I was asking myself, I always ask stupid question, but it really is some good information at the end, And I said, when two kind of yeast and fungus, they meet for the first time.
We're talking about this mushroom right here, this fungus.
Correct.
And you've got some photographs under your microscope of what happens when this meets a candida fungus, right? Like a lower fungus, a yeast.
A good one or a bad one?
Or a bad one.
Okay, then when it meets a good one, because we need the good one. Because if we don't have a good one, really what happened is this.
Thank you.
What happened is this fungus can go out of the blue, keep multiplying it when it meets the sugar.
Okay, let's see what we've got here. So what you've got here, this is what you took, a picture you took under your microscope. Explain this to us. Let's see this right here.
This keep dividing.
So
because it has sugar.
Okay, so when the sugar's present, it's going to keep dividing. Let's show more.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to see, this is the yeast cells dividing.
Correct.
And growing.
That's why it causes cancer, because really what happened when the yeast, the bad yeast, keep dividing, it can accumulate and cause a bump. And when it accumulates, it really you have some lump, into a woman breast or whatever,
So it's still, when it accumulates like that, it's still soft. It hasn't hardened up yet.
Correct.
It's usually a yeast.
Correct.
That's present. Okay.
It's yeast infection.
Yeast infection. Okay. Yeah.
There is a good yeast, there is a bad yeast.
Yeah.
This is a good
yeast, basically. It's a good mushroom.
Correct.
Right? Good fungus. Hello, everybody. By the way, if you're just joining us, I'm David Avocado Wolfe. This is Ramiz Saad, our resident scientist right over here in Ontario, Canada. We're actually in Toronto, and we are very much enjoying Pharmacia, where we're broadcasting from right now. We're going over images from the microscope that Ramiz has photographed of yeast cells. So these are those yeast cells, which he says when they multiply out of control can form a lump. And this almost looks, Ramiz, this almost looks like plant, right? That almost looks like the cells of a plant.
That's my theory. Then nobody can, my theory is when the bad yeast multiply,
Yep.
this is what happens.
It gets like this.
More research is needed.
Yep.
But I'm just opening the door. What I'm thinking of really an interaction between yeast and the good yeast and the bad yeast. In every body, there is a good yeast and bad yeast.
So it's like good bacteria and bad bacteria.
100%.
Yeah, we have both.
We have both.
Okay.
And then when we have the bad yeast, it keep multiplying in a sugary,
environment.
environment.
So we know that, most women are aware that if you have too much sugar, too much wine,
Candida.
you get candida, right?
Correct.
So you get a yeast overgrowth.
Yeah, and candida
Men are
is
becoming more aware of this, but women are much more intimately aware of this for some reason. I think it might have to do with more the women's biology. They're more
the
sensitive.
hormones and things like that. But what I was so interested when I saw the
I'm
picture.
looking at all these pictures over here. He's got some very interesting stuff. So, and there, by the way, people are asking about kombucha. That's a very good question because kombucha contains yeast. And so it's just everything in balance, right? You got to have good ones, and you got to make sure the good ones are keeping the bad ones in check.
Kombucha, I have some talk about it because it increases the blood sugar.
Increases blood sugar, yeah.
Correct.
So that's a problem.
Then anything, you always want to know that you are really healthy or not, your sugar level. Because sugar is really key for to burn the sugar, it takes 36 steps. To burn fat, it takes 2 steps. And that's why keto diet. Okay? But the sugar, when it burns, it gives so many free radicals. While the fat, when it burns, it gives the ketone.
That's interesting. Did you guys catch that? So when the sugar burns, there's a lot of steps, 36 steps, and there's a lot of free radicals generated. But when the fat is cleaved off and used as energy, it's only 2 steps. And what's created as a side product are keto bodies, which are friendly and healthy to digestion and healthy to metabolism. That's a very interesting point because there's been so much interest in keto diets.
Exactly.
And basically, I've been on a cleanse personally myself, so I'm working my way into ketosis right now, especially yesterday, where I wasn't having anything that was stimulating me at all and just resting. And eventually an energy built up. That's why I was so on fire last night. I was
you were amazed.
It was a wild night last night over here in Toronto. But anyway, let's keep going. You've got some great images I do want to see.
But what happened with the keto diet, you cannot have 100% keto because people cannot take it. That's why they cheat sometimes. And when you mix fat with carbohydrate, it becomes a nightmare.
Wow. What happens?
What happened? The fat, you have to remember that cell membrane.
I just have to tell Ramiz because he's Egyptian. I love having dates with almond butter, right? Which is like such a Middle Eastern treat.
Exactly.
But that's bad.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Because it has very high sugar.
Right.
Okay.
And it keeps the sugar around because the fat blocks the sugar from being broken down, right?
Exactly.
It keeps it around longer.
Exactly. And that's what we can say. This is like saying, for example, this is the cell membrane. And we can give it.
Yeah, bring it right up in here. Okay, so like a cell membrane like this. Okay, so tell us about that. What's happening on the cell membrane then when we have
When we have a fat,
ketosis
when we
versus
have
sugar.
correct. When we have a bad fat, like trans fat,
Okay. Toxic fat.
a toxic fat, it blocks the cell membrane
Completely.
completely. Then nothing go in and out. And the cell membrane, I believe there is 3 parts in the human body which is key for healthy life: cell membrane, liver, and stomach.
Okay.
We can give another lecture about all of them.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Correct, But really what happened when you block the cell membrane, all the doors, all the keys, all the receptors
Are blocked.
are blocked.
Yeah.
Then the sodium potassium channel.
So what we're saying then is if you're going to do ketosis and do healthy fats, you got to do healthy fats like avocado, you got to do healthy fats like real seeds like hemp seed or something, but you can't do like toxic stuff like canola oil or something.
Oh, this is the worst ever.
Worst ever. Whoa.
Never touch canola oil or vegetable oil. Very high in omega-6. I show you, like one day I'm going to make another video with David. I'll show you about the oil and the canola oil and how is omega-6 block the cell receptors. Then type 2 diabetes. I used to have type 2 diabetes. I got rid of it. Okay. Then this is another subject.
That's another subject. We have so many subjects. But I want to get back to your yeast cells.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. It says yeast fungal cell feed on Chaga fungus cell for complete cell cycle. Okay, so talk us through this image. Should I hold this image up?
Sure.
Okay, talk us through this image and what's going on here.
This is 2 species from the same, fungus.
Yep.
And they meet for the first time. They love each other. Okay. And what happened? This is the cell membrane.
That's in the middle.
In the middle.
That's a cell membrane right here in the middle. This one here.
This is the yeast, and this is the chaga here.
Oh, that's the chaga.
This is the chaga.
That's the chaga. Okay. So we have a yeast over here and a yeast over here,
Correct.
and a chaga in the middle.
You see that how they touch each other from the cell membrane.
Yep.
They feed on each other. They both need each other to live together. This is very, very interesting. You see this under the microscope. Very interesting that the same species, here in the cell membrane, we saw the beta-glucan.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Very high in beta-glucan. This is all beta-glucan on the cell membrane.
Right here. So this membrane that you're seeing right here, that line is beta-glucans, which is a long sugar, essentially.
Correct.
And this is a yeast, and they're connecting up on that right together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I did, I took a sample of yeast cell wall extract.
Okay.
Listen to this. Nobody did this crazy things before.
This is wild. Okay, so let him tell you what he did in the lab here.
Okay.
So he in the lab he took yeast cell wall extract. Okay.
And when I analyzed it in the lab, I found all this kind of minerals.
In the cell wall of
in
the
the
yeast.
cell wall of the yeast.
Interesting. Okay.
That's right. And really what happened, there was the same thing on the minerals here. But what I found out, that on the yeast cell wall extract, it was missing some element, which is in this.
Oh, sure, but Chaga has it. Is that what is going on? So that's what this is.
Correct.
Okay, let me see if I can. Let me see if I got you. We're all listening to Ramiz, but let me see if I'm getting it, and then he'll tell us. Maybe you're asking the same questions. What's happening here is that this yeast here and this yeast over here is coming to this Chaga piece of Chaga here and picking up and interacting with the cell wall in order to get the minerals.
Correct.
Basically, that's
Correct.
what you've discovered.
Correct.
Interesting.
Then
Then what happens next?
Then I said to myself, maybe this is a fluke. Let's take another sample.
Okay, so
I took another sample.
okay, so here's another sample, and so these long ones again, I would
The
assume are
chaga.
Chaga.
Correct.
Okay, so this Chaga mushroom here,
And this is
and
the
these are yeast cells. Now the cells do appear to be feeding on it or accumulating right here on the Chaga, right? That's what we're seeing.
They go to it and they love each other.
They go to it, so they connect.
They connect and they really feed on each other.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And this another one.
And another one,
You
okay.
see?
So another one, again, the Chaga is this long strip here of
Exactly.
polysaccharides.
Exactly.
So like a membrane, and it appears that the yeast is wanting to come and feed on it or somehow interacting with the beta-glucans on the surface. And that could be a mineral interaction.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
They're coming for the minerals.
Look at this.
And there's another one there. By the way, it's the first time anyone's ever seen this. This is just laboratory
Exclusive
research.
to David Wolfe.
Thank you. So you're getting it exclusively. So thank you for everybody for joining us. We're talking about Chaga Mushroum. There's Chaga Mushroum and its interaction with yeast cells. And we're seeing that basically what it looks like to me, maybe I'm wrong, you correct me if I'm wrong, looks to me like the yeast cells are docking in with the Chaga cell or the Chaga polysaccharide.
Correct.
It's we were just driving down over here at the harbor, and we saw the ships docked, and this is like the pier, and these are the ships that are coming into the port. Something
And
like
more,
that.
so many pictures.
And here's more.
It's not like you can buy a small microscope, and just buy chaga and buy yeast, and you can do this test at home.
Very interesting. What a discovery. So the Chaga has these interesting polysaccharide formations. That's these long lines. It's like the pier, or this is the Chaga material that the yeast is coming to eat or interact with, and you can see it docking up right here onto it.
But really, what's all this make me think that we cannot live alone. A man needs a woman, and a woman needs a man. It's this. I'm not a philosopher, but it shows you that really, even the species, they live together.
Yeah, it's
in
a
a
community.
harmony.
This is very interesting to me because you never know. I thought, oh, maybe the chaga is going to kill off the yeast or something like that.
Correct.
But it's that programming that we have. It's that social Darwinism, like survival of the fittest, and everything's always a conflict. But in nature, almost it's all cooperation. Occasionally, the lion's going to eat the deer or something like that.
Correct.
But it doesn't happen every moment of every day. It's like that's something that happens occasionally.
Correct.
Whereas the cooperative, a lot of times you see these videos in Africa where all the animals are in drinking the water together.
Yeah.
They might be enemies of each other, but they're all there together.
Yeah, and you find the cats together, and the dogs together, and the species together.
Yeah.
And this is the same idea. But when it goes the sugar, here is what it kills it. That's
Okay.
why your main enemy is the sugar. Okay? Simple processed sugar can kill. Okay? With like omega-6. Then avoid food.
And this is a man who, through his laboratory research, saved himself from diabetes, because diabetes is really a syndrome.
Correct.
Instead of it being a disease, we always hear it's a disease. It's really a syndrome of too high omega-6,
Correct.
too high sugar,
Correct.
and toxicity and mineral deficiency too.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh, there are so many minerals, David. Like when I want to show you this again. When the cell membrane blocks, nothing goes in and out. And when you don't have in this cell
Let's
membrane,
bring that up a little bit closer so everybody can see that. So we're just using this as a little model about the cell membrane, right? So there's your cell membrane, which is, we know now, is the brain. Actually, that's very important because you and I kind of take that for granted, but we were all taught in school, oh, it's the nucleus of the cell that's really the brain. It isn't. It's the membrane, the skin that surrounds the cell, that's the intelligence. Okay, so
because there is lots of receptors, and all of these receptors is now what I'm investigating for years. I'm listening to Nobel Prize winner. I'm reading so many books. I read so many books in my life. I follow David when I have the time and all the time, and I'm really and I found out, through the research, we are really mineral depleted, and I can show you later.
that's such
on
a strong
another
statement. I really, you should say that again, because people are listening. They're like, what? Mineral
depletion.
depletion.
You need 90 nutrients every day. Okay? 76 of them is mineral and vitamin. The rest is protein. You need 9 amino acids essential. You need 3 fatty acids. That's it. But 76 out of 90 is mineral and vitamin. You know what that means? Almost 85% of your body is minerals. And cell membrane, there is lots of protein here, which is activated by minerals. I can talk about this. I'll show you data about that. We'll make another video.
That's a whole. That's
that's right.
such a big subject right there. But let's bring it back, because we've gotten some key ideas. Somebody's asking, what is chaga? Chaga is the most important medicinal mushroom in the world. It's a mushroom that grows on trees, and this is it right here. And then somebody was asking about canola oil. Very, very toxic stuff. You got to be very careful about canola oil, because that's super high omega-6, and it basically forms a glue around your cell membrane, which is your intelligence of your cell. So the cell can't interact with the minerals or the nutrients, right?
When it block, what happens? You eat any sugar, then the sugar outside, then you get diabetes, because the sugar cannot go inside. Then there is no ATP, which is adenine triphosphate.
Okay, so interesting. So that because of the clogging up of the membrane,
Correct.
the sugar can't even get in the cell.
Correct. And that's why you have what? High blood sugar.
Yep.
Diabetes.
Interesting.
Keep accumulating.
That's such an interesting idea. I want everyone to get that. That was good. So we have the cell membrane. It gets gluey. It gets basically blocked up with omega-6. Canola oil is one of the worst offenders in this area. Many, many vegetable oils like this. We recommend, of course, like hemp seed oil, olive oil, good olive oil, that kind of stuff, and not the super high omega-6. What are some of the really dangerous oils to watch out for?
Vegetable oil and like canola is really the worst one, because really it depletes the body from potassium.
This is a mineral scientist, so I love how he always brings it back to minerals. Minerals. Interesting. So it depletes the body of potassium, and it also forms a clog so that sugar can't get into the cell, so you get high blood sugar.
When you have high blood sugar in the blood, what happens? It can affect your eye, it can affect your kidney. You know, we all know about type 2 diabetes. Can like amputate legs, and
Yeah,
you know, it's
very
really
dangerous.
very, very sad. That's why, you know, like type 2 diabetes in the rise. And that's why one of the things, you know, I was investigating, how can I drop my type 2 diabetes? Because I promised my mother, she was dying, you know, when I left Egypt on 2/2/1982. Okay? And that date, she was sitting and she was really like almost paralyzed. And I said, Mom, like, you know, I cannot leave. She said, go and discover things.
Oh, man. Ooh.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And he came to Ontario, and he has made some really substantial discoveries. If you're just joining us right now, this is scientist Ramiz Saad. He's here in Ontario, Canada, right outside of Toronto is where the lab is, and we did all the research for this book, Chaga, King of the Medicinal Mushrooms. It came from his lab. He's continued to do incredible research for years, and thanks, Ramiz. I just want to briefly go over a few things. Chaga grows on birch trees here in the circumpolar regions of the northern hemisphere of the earth. So it grows mostly out of birch. And this is what it looks like. It's a beautiful mushroom. It's really amazing. When you see this in the forest, it's really something special. People have been asking about avocado oil and hemp seed oil and olive oil. Yes, if those are raw and organic, cold processed, we're all for those. But canola oil, toxic oils that are used as fillers, rapeseed oil, essentially, very toxic. It's like glue, and especially trans fats. So any kind of corrupted oil, trans fatty acids, acts, like margarine's a good example of that, acts as a glue that it gets on the surface. It's like I don't know, for lack of a better word, it's like a scum that gets on the top of the cell on the membrane, and then the sugar can't get in, and it starts to go back, starts being rejected, and that's how we get high blood sugar. Not only that, when the cell is choked off like that, it starts having mineral deficiencies, potassium deficiencies, and that's really a big one that Ramiz has been studying. Coconut oil is good. Yes, we had that question come up. So, you know, thank you, by the way, so much for joining us. What we found out in this broadcast is that we now know that yeast cells will actually come to Chaga to feed, and that's good because they'll get the minerals that they require. And we have a growing body of evidence now that when you have good, healthy, friendly environments, that then allows good, healthy, friendly bacteria to develop there and hang out there. And the same is true with yeast. So when you bring this in, what's happening is you're bringing in a healthy environment so that the yeast it actually goes more towards the good side, right? It avoids going to the dark side. It's like the good side of the force and the dark side of the force. And in the research on the microbiome, it's found out that if you have certain healthy environmental triggers, things that are going on. For example, you don't have any inflammation in your stomach. You don't have any inflammation in your intestines. You have a nice environment. Let's say you've been taking activated charcoal, so you have a nice clean environment in your digestive tract. The healthy bacteria proliferates, and the unhealthy bacteria is not happy. And the same is true with yeast. So when we put Chaga mushroom, especially in the form of tea, into our body, it creates a healthy environment for our digestive tract. Okay, I'm running out of power here. Ramiz, he's back. How you feeling? Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
He was. Let's give him a last word. We're gonna cut the broadcast off here because we're almost out. If you're looking to get Chaga right here in the GTA in the Toronto area, come to Pharmacia. Call Pharmacia up. This is how it's spelled: FAR. MACIA, farm, like a farm, and they'll send one of these to you. Look at this thing. And they're such wonderful people down here to allow us to come down here and do this wonderful thing of being able to broadcast
May I say
to you.
something?
Yes.
May I say-
And-
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, like as you see, there is a skin here, and there is a body here. You know, the skin here are very, very like high, dense of substance. I took the skin only, and I took the like what's inside, and I test them alone, separately.
Yeah. What did you find?
I found out that skin it has more dense. You know,
So this was more dense in minerals and nutrients.
correct.
Okay, the black
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, like,
Yep.
like
That would make sense.
Yeah, 3 to 1.
Oh, 3-to-1.
Yeah,
That
you
much
know,
difference.
Yeah, that's why, like, you know, like if you buy, try to get like, you know,
Get the stuff with a lot of the darker the material, the better it's going to be. But this is really a wonderful specimen, by the way.
Correct.
Thanks to
This
Steve
is-
Santa over here at Pharmacia to bring us this wonderful
Steve is
sample.
really amazing guy. You know, yeah.
Really, there's so many people out there. They're doing such wonderful work. Ramiz being one of them, in their laboratories, in their juice bars, like what's going on here, in their environments. I was on the other side of town this morning, and there was a gal there who's doing work on teaching people how to detox with raw foods and juices, and really getting them the basics of that. It's such key information. We take that for granted because we've been experimenting. I mean, this guy saved himself from type 2 diabetes, so he knows how important
Exactly.
his own research is. I mean, basically,
We can go into it.
yeah, I want to just cut into this. Like, this is what I love about this guy, is his own research changed his mind
I'm
and
using
changed his life,
I'm using myself as a test tube.
like a real scientist should.
Yeah, you know, and then like I never like shy of this. You know, I have my own machine which testing my blood sugar, and that's what I need. Sugar is really key. You know, that's why. But I have so many friends from Quebec. They send me the chaga, lovely chaga. From Newfoundland, lovely chaga. You know, that chaga, you know, is really the Canadian soil, as I said, very, very healthy.
Very healthy. This is something very important to understand, is because Canada is the biggest country in the world with the least amount of people. So vast, untrammeled tracts of land where birch is growing and where this can be found, and no one else is out there. And it can help you. Somebody's saying, I bet it helps with pain with rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. Now, we can't make any medical claims, but I can tell you for sure that it improves health. And you know what that means, right? Is just all the years that I've known this man right here, how his health has improved has been amazing. I mean, you look younger now than when I first met you.
Oh, I lost 50 pounds.
50 pounds.
When I went to my doctor, he said, like I had before, something called ejection fraction. What does that mean? That the blood, you guys familiar with ejection fraction?
Never heard of it.
Oh, we'll have to make another video.
Okay, that's for another video.
yeah.
Anyway, so thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm David Avocado Wolfe. This is Ramiz. I've put his link, so you could click his link right in the top of the description here and go to his Facebook page and watch his research as it develops. Thanks so much for joining us.
And I have a YouTube channel, Ramiz the Biochemist.
Ramiz the Biochemist. Ramiz. The Biochemist, and you can catch him there as well.
Subscribe, you know.
Yeah, like, click, subscribe, do those things, and stay in tune with what's going on. Thanks so much for joining us. And by the way, yes, we're going to be getting into some things like black seed oil. Somebody had just mentioned. I was on with a friend yesterday talking about it. Incredible stuff.
It's coming next on longevity.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have the best day ever.